Well, TVC News correspondent Femi Akande joins me now on the situation in Kogi State where elections were being held a while ago. Femi, now let's look at the elections just concluded right now, although just the voting concluded right now. There had been reports of ballot box snatching and the election violence in some polling units. What did you see when you covered these areas?
Yes, Esther, when we started the election, everything appeared peaceful. People came out to cast their votes. The whole atmosphere was calm and appeared conducive for the conduct of a credible, free and fair poll. But later in the day, things began to go south. We started hearing reports of ballot box snatching and violent intimidation of voters, and all of these people are beginning to say might cast a shadow on the outcome of the polls, but it's still early in the day. That decision will be made by the Independent National Electoral Commission. But Esther, let me give you an observer's perspective to the conduct of the election, and that is Samson Itodo from Yaga, Africa. Hello, sir. Welcome. Yes, your team has been on ground before the election. Today is a D-Day, and from your preliminary findings, and this election has left us with so many talking points. What are some of these critical talking points that you'd say is an infringement on democratic principles?
Well, first is to say that the people of Kogi State should be commended for the resilience for coming out to cast their votes this morning. But the fundamental question is, was there an opportunity for them to cast their vote and do so up till the end? It's quite unfortunate. The level of brigandage, the level of violence, and the intimidation that we observed in this election is totally unacceptable. And it just raises questions on our commitment to democracy. I think we're paying too much lip service to democracy, but there is no commitment on the part of our political class. Because what we saw today is just a classic example of where a political class undermines institutions, instrumentalizes them to, one, disrupt elections, steal ballot boxes and ballot papers, intimidate voters, and intimidate other stakeholders who are in the electoral process. Observers, media practitioners were intimidated in the course of their work, and it cast a lot of doubt on the integrity of these particular elections. The level of vote buying reached astronomical heights in this election. The brazen manner at which politicians deployed agents to buy votes for as high as 5,000 or 6,000 naira clearly shows that we are not prepared for democracy.
Okay, as we have seen statements from Yaga Africa calling for cancellation of votes in those areas where there were incidents of ballot box snatching. But some people are saying, see, Kogites, they just want to get this done with and move on. So calling for cancellation is like, again, taking them through that process again, the process that they want to put behind them as soon as possible.
I think that the people of Kogi State and Nigeria should appreciate the fact that democracy is a very expensive enterprise, and we cannot accept what happened today as a norm. Even though our politicians want us to accept the fact that voter suppression or cancellation of vote is now part of our electoral process. There were voters who went out to cast their vote in the polling station, but thugs invaded polling stations and didn't avail them the opportunity to vote. So it's not about moving on. We cannot move on with this kind of attitude in our electoral process. We've called for the cancellation in those polling stations where disruptions took place. No results should come from those particular polling stations, and we've asked INEC that where cancellations are made, because the cancellations will occur in the collation process, the list of the polling units where elections are cancelled should be made public in the spirit of transparency and accountability. But it's important that as collation officers also go through the collation process, the INEC guidelines are very, very clear for the parameters for cancelling votes. We've seen this from past experience that even when elections are cancelled in some polling stations, from nowhere, results are declared from those polling stations. And that casts a lot of doubt on the integrity of our elections. And for us, it is important that INEC counsels. INEC has issued a statement saying it is monitoring the situation and the collation process. We hope that the commission will come out in the course of this collation process or after this collation process to clearly provide stakeholders. The people of Kogi State have a right to know polling units where these cancellations have taken place, and if there is need to conduct elections in those places, the Electoral Commission should conduct those elections just to give the people of Kogi State the opportunity to exercise their right. It is not a privilege that they are availing the people of Kogi State. It's a constitutional right that they have to vote for leaders of their choice, and the state has a responsibility to protect that right.
Thank you very much, Samson Itodo, for your time on TVC News. Well, Esther, there you have it from Samson Itodo of Yaga Africa. They have come out with statistics and even their preliminary reports about what transpired during the election. Well, it's left for the electoral umpire and other key players to chew on all of these and then determine their next line of action. Esther.
All right, and we'll wait to see what next line of action that will be. Femi Akande live for us from Kogi State. Thanks a lot.